One of the key hypocrisies at the heart of wokeism, at the heart of the batshit crazy, scientifically incorrect ideology of intersectionality, the hate movement of intersectionality, all intersectional people must be hateful figures who perform hate acts daily, because it's an ideology just based on hatred of whites, hatred of men, bigotry against white men. This is what intersectionality is. This is what third wave feminism is. It's just bigotry against whites. Same with Black Lives Matter. Same with Antifa. It's just sexism, just racism and bigotry. These are all hate movements. They're hate religions. One of many double standards at the heart of these hate movements is the fact things only go one way. I'll give you an example. Black people dominate sport now, whether it's basketball, football, soccer, American football, not so much swimming, for reasons I won't get into here. But black people dominate many sports. When did you hear anyone openly saying that it was a problem that sport was so dominated by black people? In fact, here's a statistic. 2% of the UK is black. 30% of Premier League, which is the top soccer league in the UK, 30% of them are black. So that's an overrepresentation of 15 times. And if you look at the top teams, it's even higher. When did you hear about anyone mentioning this as a problem? I think there are 0 South Asian players in the Premier League, even though there's I think more than 10% South Asians in the UK population. Strangely, no one talks about that. And white people are also underrepresented in the Premier League. There was one case of, I think it was Monaco coach slightly restricting the number of black players coming in, because he said that almost every young player was black, so he just wanted a few whites in there. He was fired, he was pilloried, he was destroyed. Probably rightly so, in my view. Sport's a meritocracy. Everything should be a meritocracy. Sport is definitely a meritocracy. Black players are better because of physical advantages. There's a ton of research that black people have more twitch muscles, denser bones. Incidentally, the denser bones black people have make swimming harder because they're negatively buoyant in water generally. But yeah, black people are the best at sport. Great, that's called a meritocracy. But if you see areas that there are fewer black people in, such as coding or other jobs, or when you have a requirement from BAFTA that movies to get considered must have a certain quota of certain races in. Well, were they complaining that black people are overrepresented in the Premier League and in other sports? Because you can't have this one way and not the other way. Unless you have no principles. And of course we know extreme leftists, communists, intersectionalists, Antifa, unintelligent people that believe these ridiculous failed ideologies, these bigoted, hate-filled ideologies, these morons, don't have principles, because you can't have principles if you don't care that black people are overrepresented in some sports, or in most sports, but underrepresented elsewhere. If you think it's fine that black people are overrepresented in sport, you're acknowledging there are racial differences. If you're acknowledging there are racial differences, then that could be an explanation of imbalances elsewhere, couldn't it? In the US, affirmative action is everywhere. We need to get black people and some other minorities into these positions. Okay, well, 70% of your American football team is black. Where are your programs to get more white people, to get more 5-foot Jews into the American football team? That's weird that doesn't exist, isn't it? Why wouldn't that exist? Because the people making these programs are just fucking racists. This is just racism. Open racism against white people. It's bigotry. It's a double standard. It's one group being given preferential treatment over another group. This could not be acceptable to anyone with principles, because it just directly runs against any kind of principle of fairness, of people being treated equally, of having equal rights under the law. Another classic example of this open bigotry and hatred from intersectionalists, from the far left, from people on the far left generally, is women outperform men at every level of education in the West, and by 20% or more at most ages, in 80% of subjects and more at university. So you would think there'd be a load of programs to help men out in all of these subjects. I couldn't find a single program to help all boys. I found a couple to help black boys. I couldn't find any programs to help all boys in education. I found a ton of programs to help women to code, get girls into coding, get women into maths, girls into physics. So women are already outperforming men in at least 80% of subjects. In the 5 to 10% of subjects where men outperform women, and what actually is happening there is women lose interest in things like maths and physics because women are interested in people, men are interested in things on average. So rather than helping the vast majority of males who are failing at education relative to women because of our feminized education system, but I'll leave that for another day, they help they try and get women into this tiny number of subjects where men are dominating. Again, what if you're helping women who are overachieving and ignoring boys who are underachieving, that's just called fucking sexism. Anyone supporting these policies is just a fucking bigot. They're just a fucking sexist. Any program to get girls to code, any of these programs is set up just by someone who hates males, who is a bigot, who's an open sexist. If you are involved with a program to get women to code, you're just a fucking sexist. To get girls to code, you're just a fucking sexist. You're a bigot. What you're doing is based on hate of boys, based on bigotry. Why wouldn't you just have a program to get children to code? Or to get poor kids to code, or something like that? Because you're a fucking bigot. That's why. The left is now completely constructed of differing types of bigotry, which pretends to be nice, but it's actually bigotry. Here's a fun task for people to do. If you see any get girls to code, get girls into physics, any programs like this, ask the people involved, anywhere, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, ask them, why do you have a gender exclusive event? Why are you purposely excluding boys from this event? Just see what their response is. There is no good answer. Oh, because there's more boys in this subject. Yeah, well, that's because boys are more interested in coding. This has been established in science. So why are you trying to get girls interested in something that they're less interested in generally? Why aren't you doing 5 other programs to get boys more interested in stuff girls are into, like nursing and HR? Why aren't you doing those programs? Especially seeing as boys do less well in your feminized education system generally. Yes, they're not going to have a fucking answer. It's extremely fun to just ask these perfectly reasonable questions. Because as usual, far left ideology, dig a millimeter under the surface and it just completely fucking collapses. You just need to have the guts to get a teaspoon and dig a millimeter under the surface and watch your entire fucking house collapse. Enjoy.
The Deviant Developer Podcast. Tap subscribe in any podcast app to never miss an episode. Please leave a review on iTunes and like on YouTube. It's essential to spread the word. To contact me or make a welcome donation, go to thedeviantdeveloper.com. Your support is greatly appreciated.